Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Unstoppable REI. I'm here with my friend Chess. I'm sorry, man. I got the two C's mixed up, but I gotta
Oh my
say,
God, you're not forgiven.
you have the absolute coolest name in the world.
Oh, well, thank
Where,
you. That's a
where
whole
does
nother
that?
story. I'm
That's
full of
another story.
stories, but
Okay,
that's a
all right,
whole nother story.
all right. We'll leave that for later then. Let's just get started with your, I guess, your elevator pitch. Tell me your story, how you got started. I mean, just give me the deal.
Well, like when you sit down at the therapist chair or sofa, and the person being interviewed by the therapist, and he says, "Well, tell me about your life." Well, it all started when I was a child.
There you go.
I was very fortunate. I have two lovely parents. Unfortunately, they've decided to move on to the greater realm. But my dear ex-wife said, "Chasen, you had Ozzie and Harriet as parents. So every day I wake up and I live a blessed life, and I wake up and I say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I live in gratitude. I'm very fortunate. My theme, if you can't see, this is my
Yes.
beach shirt. I
I
always
love it.
wear beach shirts, and this is the beach right behind me. I live in the beach in San Diego. I've manifested that. I've chosen that. It's all because of real estate investing. Anyway, my story, since I have my 30 seconds, I have 19 seconds left.
There you go.
That
Take all the time you need.
I grew up under two teachers. My dad was a professor at the University of Oklahoma. My mother was a teacher in high school and stuff. And because of that, I love sharing content with people. So I'm here for you today, Rufus, to share valuable content so your people don't have to make the same stupid mistakes I made. So it's easier and faster, and you make money and live your life wherever that dream life is for them. So I've been an entrepreneur since I started my first business at 25. I started the real estate business 32 years ago, initially as a realtor in San Jose, California. That was 1991. Within
Wow.
7 years, I was in the top 1% of agents in the country. I'm a good listener. I'm a hard worker. I work lots of hours, and that's kind of a formula that it might take to be successful. And then some years later, I just got a little bit bored with real estate sales and brokerage,
Yeah.
and started getting involved with real estate investing. It's just like in my blood now. That was almost 20 years ago. I've done over 350 transactions, from wholesales to flips to subject twos, et cetera.
Nice.
About a little over $100 million of real estate value. So I love what's the old saying that if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. So, and currently I still do some of that real estate business, flipping and stuff like that. I live in San Diego. The money's really nice here. The average house is almost $1 million here in San Diego.
Wow. Okay.
And boom, 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 boom. So it's easy to make some pretty decent money when you're doing flips or even wholesales.
Sure.
But so that's my story. I'm sticking to it. That's what I got.
I love it, man. I love the shirt. I got the wrong attire on. I should have worn my beach attire. We do that for the next because I want to hear the chasing story. So we'll have to schedule another time, and I'll have my beach wear. I'll be ready for you then. All right. So tell me, what is one thing that you wish you would have known when you started your career back, 20, 30 years ago?
Everything.
Okay.
No, that's an easy question.
Yeah. Okay.
What I wish my specialty is marketing. My degree in school was out of psychology. I kind of switched that, even though the degree was in psychology, which has been very helpful in the sales and business realm.
Sure.
But I switched it over to my marketing and advertising the last year and a half of my studies.
Okay.
And if you know the book, The E-Myth by Micah Gerber, put out 20 plus years ago, still a classic book, millions of copies sold. He mentioned the one thing I really took away from that book is that too many people are technical people.
Okay.
Let's say you're going to want to open up a bike store, and you know everything about bicycles and their gears and their frames and all this other good stuff. But the problem is you open up a store, and his thought was most people fail because they're not business people.
Okay.
And they're not marketers, which is a huge aspect of any business.
Totally.
My whole background and my focus is marketing. I've got my summit coming up in a few days, REI Marketing Success .com. You can go there. It's free. It's a 3-day event. We're going to be going like 3, 4, 5 hours every day. I'm interviewing some amazingly smart people. So there's my plug for my upcoming summit. And once again, my whole theory is we're all here to be servants. Yeah. When you get to a certain point to where you can put your ego to the side, it's all about money, 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 and me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all about serving other people. I know you have that same attitude, mindset, Rufus. That's why you do what you do. Yeah. So no, that's what I'm up to. If I go back to it, I wish I had started better marketing earlier. Okay. I would have been more successful than I have been. And I've been pretty successful.
Yeah. And I know you've been super successful. And you know what? I love, I mean, Patrick and I introduced us, and you and I have tons in common. Me starting in real estate. I love marketing, but I know you also have a book. Can you talk a little bit about your book that you've got coming out?
Oh my God, did I forget to bring it out here?
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Hang on 2 seconds.
Yeah, go for it. Bam, there he is. I love it.
I have this wonderful ditty I've been working on for over a year.
Okay.
Called The Millionaire Marketing Whisperer: Stealth Strategies for Real Estate Investors.
Okay.
When I was looking online, you can take a picture of this or a quick screen capture, whatever, for everybody listening and tuning in.
Yes.
So when I was looking online, there's not a lot of content and books. I'm a bookaholic.
Yeah, me too.
On marketing. There's how to flip and how to wholesale and all this other stuff, but nobody's really done a great job of creating content that's very, very contemporary, because AI is kind of taking over.
Sure.
So I've written this. It's coming out at the end of this year.
Okay.
So maybe we'll do another interview
absolutely
to promote that when it comes out towards the end of the year.
Love it.
But like I said, if you know marketing, if you're pretty good at knowing how to do the numbers in real estate, conversations in sales with motivated sellers, working with contractors and title people and all the other people involved with the team of real estate investing. But if you don't have a pipeline that's filled because of your marketing,
that's right,
then you're out of business.
Yeah.
And you and I were talking about, and I've heard these same statistics, about 98% of real estate investors within a year to 18 months are out of business because guess what? They're not doing marketing. They're not, they don't have a pipeline. How nice would it be to wake up every morning and go to your CRM? Do you have a CRM?
Absolutely.
You need a CRM.
Yes.
You ask what CRM is, you have a problem. So you go to your CRM and go, Jason, you had 4 leads come in overnight. They want to talk to you today because they want to sell your house for peanuts. So go talk to them. How nice would that be every day? That happens. Your pipeline is full when you have good marketing in place. Another question I ask when I go to speaking events and people come up and ask me this and this and that. And I ask them 3 questions.
Okay.
The first one is, how bad do you want it? Because most people, Americans, are kind of spoiled.
Sure.
We want it yesterday. We want it in this amount of time. We want it easy. And I'll say right now, real estate investing is not easy. It's really complicated. People fail in real estate investing for 3 reasons. I call it the MEM theory. Mine. Money, lack of money to fund the deals. Education, you don't spend the time to know what the flip you're doing. And marketing. MEM, money, education, marketing. So if you wake up every morning, you've got leads in your pipeline because you're doing good marketing, then man, you're going to be a rock star. You can't help but win in real estate investing because you can hire other partners and everything else to do everything else.
Right.
If you're doing good marketing, you've got that pipeline full. I wish I had an old ka-ching button. Ka-ching, there it is.
Yeah.
So every time you have that, you can't help but make a lot of money in real estate investing if you have a full pipeline because of marketing.
You know, I love that because most real estate investors don't know that. And like you said, there's a lot of really great resources out there about doing real estate deals, the transactions themselves, how to, no money, no cash, no credit and all that stuff, which is great. But again, like you said, you'll be out of business without marketing. So tell me, Jason, man, what would you say are maybe there it is.
Here's the first book that every real estate investor should read. This is from dear old, Gary Keller, who's one of the originators of Keller Williams Realty. Very smart dude. And so I got this years ago. It's a great book. This is should be your number one book to read when you first start out. And so I'm sorry, you were about to ask your next question.
Oh yeah, I was actually going to ask what are the top three maybe resources that have helped you along the way. So it sounds like you're an avid reader like myself. By the way, are you on Audible? Do you like audio books, or do you read the paperback? I mean, what do you like? What do you prefer?
I'm a book reader.
Okay.
I like paper. And I look at this. I've chosen a few to share with you guys. What's upside?
Please.
Here they all are. I'm going to go through them real quick.
Please do.
Here's what I learned. I love reading. I love reading since I was a kid.
Okay.
And I chose years ago not to own a television. Now,
wow.
To tell you a quick story.
Okay.
I don't own a TV. So, and I haven't for years. My first wife, been married twice, lovely women, and I'm still in touch with them. We're still friendly. And my first wife, we started getting serious. She goes, Chase, and I've got 3 questions. And one of the questions was, are you the kind of guy that sits around on weekends with a channel changer in one hand and a cold beer in the other hand, watching sports all weekend? And I looked at her and I said, well, to tell you the truth, I've never owned a television. Wow. And she looked at me like, I had 3 heads, and she was going, you're kidding me. And I said, no, I read. So most people, when they come home from work, the 9 to 5 grind,
sure.
You get your food, you get your cocktail, you get your cold beer, whatever the case may be, and you sit down for the TV going,
right.
And I just looked at it from a sky level perspective. Yeah. And I said, that's for most people, that's 3, 4, 5 hours every evening, let alone weekends, especially if you're a sports junkie. For all the sports junkies out there, sorry, this is just me. This works for me, whatever works for you. No prejudice here. So, and here's another quick story. If you know the name Brendan Bouchard,
absolutely,
brilliant young man.
Yeah.
And I was at an event of his one time. We were having a cocktail party. I was chatting with him. I'm not shy. Brendan, let's talk. So I asked him, I said, he had been really kind of popular for like a year or two. This is like almost 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I call Brendan the junior Tony Robbins. Exactly. Tony and Brendan are like-minded, lovely people, very bright people. So I said, Brendan, what has been responsible for your success in a relatively short period of time?
Okay.
And he goes, Jason, I'll let you know. First of all, I've always had 1 or 2 or 3 coaches or mentors.
Okay.
Hello, hint, hint. And he goes, one guy changed my life. He looked at me and goes, Brendan, you want to be the best. So you have to, know what the best of the best. You have to be in the top 1% of the top 1% of people knowledgeable in your field. Let me ask you, Brendan, how many books you read every year? And Brendan goes, oh, like, I don't know, 25, 30 or so. He goes, well, that's not bad. But I have, and he goes, in what fields? He goes, personal development and marketing and business.
Wow.
And he goes, I challenge you, Brendan, to read a book a week.
Man.
And Brendan goes, whoa, okay, you're on. And he did. And because of that knowledge that he gained, he's a multimillionaire. And so he says, Jason, I'm going to challenge you with the same question. Okay. How many books do you read? Exactly. His answers were my answers. Wow. So he challenged me to do 52 books a week. So the first 2 books I read were speed reading books.
Wow. Okay.
Most people average 200 to 300 words a minute in average speed, an average reading.
Yeah.
So, and I took a class back in college, Evelyn Wood speed reading class, but all kinds of great books out there these days. Sure. So the first 2 books I bought were on speed reading to bring me back into shape. And so I usually blow through a 300 page book in 2 to 3 hours.
Wow. That's crazy.
So because of that, I said 52 books a year. Yeah. Cool. That'll be very helpful to me. It'll help me put me in that top 1% of people. Yeah. And so I was actually starting my podcast called Entrepreneur Marketing Mania. It's no longer available. I did this 7, 8 years ago in the earlier days of podcasts. I interviewed some of the top online marketers all across the world, especially in the United States. Yeah. And so when I was doing that, most of them all had books. And I was doing a podcast a week. So I would have to read the book, do all the preparation for like that. So that year, it's my record, I read 73 books that year.
Wow, that's incredible. That is incredible.
But it's easier when you can read 800 to 1,000 words a minute.
Oh, sure. That helps a lot. That helps a ton.
So I'm a readaholic.
I love it. Now you have some books. You're going to show those books. Can you still do that?
Oh gosh, you remembered, didn't you?
I did.
The
If you
first
know,
thing when I go, once again, I go to conferences and people come, Jason, tell me about your success
huh,
and how you got there. So the first thing, if you haven't read this, this is required reading. This is Simon Sinek's book called Start with Why.
wow,
Simon Sinek.
love it.
Most people where I go to, I ask them, how bad do you want it? And they kind of look at me like I usually get crickets and a deer in the headlight. Huh?
Right.
Type thing. And so I've known some people, including myself, that, don't mind working 70, 80, 90 hours a week to do projects, to get things done, to become great in whatever niche you're doing. Obviously, real estate investors, since that's who we're talking to today.
Sure.
So if you don't know your why you're willing to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning, speaking of another book, if you haven't read this one, read it. For all the people that like to sleep in during the day, this is not for you. This is called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. It is a book about some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. They get up between 3:30 and 5:30 every morning. They might go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock. They don't watch TV, or very, very little TV. And so they get up early in the morning to start their day because it's really quiet. The husbands or wives or kids or whatever, the relationships are not, I need your time.
Right. Sure.
So it's called the early quiet hours, when the world is asleep and you can get all kinds of great shit done.
Yeah.
So and I got to share another book with you.
Okay.
The really changed, one of my ones that I have like a top 10 list. This one's really changed my life. It used to be called The Color Code. And now it's called The People Code. And this is by Taylor Hartman, Hartman, Taylor, Hartman.
Okay.
And this is all about personality styles. When you're meeting with a seller, you have 30 seconds to find out what I call what language they're speaking.
Sure.
And basically, he breaks it down into 4 colors: the colors of the American flag, red, white, and blue, and yellow.
Okay.
Yellows are very outgoing. They're salespeople. They're fun to be with. They're very charismatic. The reds are the leaders of the world and the leaders of the corporation, everything else. They are get her done people. Follow me. If not, get out of here. The whites are the analyticals, the engineers, very, very detail oriented. They usually speak a little bit slower. They want lots of information and details before they can make a decision.
Okay.
I live in Silicon Valley. Most of my clients were engineers.
Wow. There you go.
The last one is the blues. The blues are all the nurses of the world. Caring, compassionate, loving, loyal, friendly people, the best people in the world. And there's positive and negatives besides. So I can't recommend enough reading this book called The Color Code. And I get nothing out of these books. They just, I'm here to give value to you guys. So if you pick up used or whatever on Amazon or go to the library, free, then, that's the MEM, that's the education part. It's not all about, how to, flip a house. It's all about personal development, like Brendan and I were talking about. Personal development in business.
I love it. So just out of curiosity, which color are you? I would say, can I guess?
No.
Okay.
What colors?
Everybody, what colors? That's what I was gonna say. What color? I was gonna say orange. Like so yellow and red. How do I do? Okay. Yeah.
My first, because there are tests you can do. I think there's a test you can take in the book, and it might be also online also. Okay. And actually, Tony Robbins, it's very similar to when you study personality types. I said, if you're meeting a seller, and if you're a red, go get it, make it happen, this kind of power person. Sure. And they're a blue, I want you to love me. I want to know all about you. I want to create a nice relationship before I can decide whether we're going to work together. If you walk in there, like I said, there's people speaking 4 different languages for each color. If you go in there speaking English and they're speaking Russian, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to get the deal because you're not speaking Russian to them. Every great salesperson and business person is a bit of a chameleon. Yeah. So when you go knock on the door and say, "Hi, Jason, nice to meet you," you have 30 seconds to just establish rapport. And you're always thinking, what color is this person? What language do I need to speak? Sure. So I get the deal, and somebody else who doesn't have this information doesn't. And I win out every time.
Yeah. So I have another question for you. What do you think? So I've often thought that the great salespeople are naturals. Now, I obviously you can certainly learn how to do that, but do you think that that skill is natural? I mean, because I think I guess what I'm really trying to say is that a lot of that process happens naturally. Like they can just they can build rapport with people. They can tell that, oh, you know what, that this is this kind of person, and they may not know the red, blue, orange, and white, but they know, hey, we're not connecting. I need to switch up to do that. Do you think that that's natural, or do you think that you need to learn that?
Is it nurture or is it nature?
There you go.
I
Yeah.
think it is a combination of both. When I was a kid, we moved around a lot because my dad had, better and better jobs and getting his PhD and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I had to go to a new school. I went to, I forget how many schools it was between kindergarten and college. It was
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
One school I was in for 14 days. Oh, we're moving. I grew up in Ohio.
Okay.
And so I had
Wow.
to, I had to try to reach out to people to make new friends
Yeah.
because I was always the new guy in school.
Sure.
So my natural tendency, like a lot of people, I think, is being more on the shy side.
Okay.
Because when we're growing up, we don't know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, if you want to grow fast in your charisma and sales skills, start a business.
Yeah.
And study sales.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many dozens of books on selling.
Yeah.
Because I've been in selling since I started my first business when I was 25. When I first, we'll go to a relationship type thing. When you're a young man and you're
Yeah.
hot after some young woman,
Yeah.
guess what you're doing? You're selling yourself to
Sure.
that young woman.
Absolutely.
So we are all salespeople, whether we want to believe it or not. Go, oh, I hate salespeople. My God, just imagine this. If every corporation in the world took away all their salespeople, guess what would happen to the economy of the world?
Right. Right. It would tank
So
totally.
we live because of salespeople.
Yeah.
So I have always had tremendous respect. And the best salespeople are always kind of concierge.
Okay.
They're servants.
Yeah.
How can I wake up every morning before I do my morning meditation, hint, hint. Been doing that since college. It's been a few decades. So when you wake up and you start your day with, show me how to serve today.
Wow.
Show me, and I learned this. Might ask one. I think one of your questions is, we started on is, what something really impacted you, whether it's
Yeah.
books or something like that. I love Wayne Dyer, dear man. He left his physicality a few years ago.
Yeah.
He's been one of my mentors, and I've read most of his books.
Okay.
And he called his. I went to a seminar one time. He was, of course, bald in his later years.
Yeah.
And he cracked me up. Funny guy. And he looked at the audience, 1,000 people there. He goes, I have 9 children. And this is a solar powered sex machine. A great way to start a conference. I cracked up. You had to love the guy. And so I call mine, this is my solar powered marketing machine.
I love it. Man. I love it. I love it. So I'm totally thrown off. You've given me way more than I expected. And I'm seeing that it's unbelievable. I don't even want to keep saying this, but we have so much in common. So we'll definitely have to do more episodes here, but let me ask you
Whenever
this.
you're ready, my friend.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm ready. So what was maybe your biggest failure? And I know that everybody has a different opinion about failure. I don't fail, I fall forward and all that stuff. But what is your biggest failure? What did you learn from that?
Well, first of all, I have to examine the question.
Okay.
Many years ago, I took the word failure out of my vocabulary.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's a negative word.
Yeah.
Hey, you failed at this. It's somebody kind of being a bully. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you're that way because
sure.
it's common, it's in our common lexicon of words.
Sure.
But I just said, failure is such a negative word. A lot of people call me Mr. Optimistic.
Okay.
So I took certain words. I took hate out of my vocabulary.
Yeah.
I didn't just say that. And I took failure out of my vocabulary. So to me, there is no such thing as failure.
Fair.
To me, that word is creating expectations that you didn't meet.
Okay.
But that's okay. So if I've had, I've started several businesses. Luckily, most of them have done pretty darn well. But if it didn't do well, I didn't meet my expectations.
Okay.
But I didn't fail.
Got it.
So to me, failure, those are just stepping stones towards the end goal of success. I'll deal with success all day long.
Yeah.
I won't deal with failure. It's not in my vocabulary. I had to use it because you asked that question.
No, I feel you 100%. And I love that because your perception and your interpretation of a word or an event or circumstance really determines what it means. I mean, and how it's going to, whether or not it affects you in a positive or a negative way. So I love that. Well, let me ask you this. So as we talked before, if you Google the term real estate investor failure rate, there's that word again, you'll see that, about 95% of real estate investors fail. Okay. I believe that a large part has to do with marketing, but there are other reasons too. But anyway, but the reason why I started this podcast is to interview the top 5% or higher of real estate investors to find out what are you doing to make yourself unstoppable in an environment where there's so much failure. So two-part question: how would you define the word unstoppable, and what are you doing to make yourself unstoppable in an industry that has such a high failure rate?
The life of an entrepreneur is creative.
Yeah.
It's challenging. It's brain mushing up. It is it's a marathon. It's not a race.
Yeah.
So, and let me share another book with you that that I'm actually reading right now. And well, here there's two.
Okay.
So, one is an old classic by Stephen Covey and his two buds. First Things First.
Okay.
This is another book that should definitely be on your reading list.
Okay.
So if you know what priority things, there's urgency, there's priority. I think in Rich Dad Poor Dad and the whatever the something quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki did, he talked about knowing what to do first.
Yeah.
The person that's highly successful has to be highly productive.
Right.
So if you learn how to schedule your day, do you know JJ Azizian?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. One of my dear buds, and love the guy wonderfully. He and I went to mastermind together for about a year. And we talked about that. And he said, Jason, how you seem to be pretty productive. What keeps you on track? And I said, I'm a visual, and majority of people are visuals. That's your number one sense modality.
Okay.
And so even though on my cell phone, I keep all appointments like today and having the time with you, Rufus.
Yeah.
But I just I created on my computer just a little pad. I mean, a schedule of the day goes from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m.
Okay.
And I printed them out and cut them up. So during this, it's like a pad of thing. And every day I wake up, usually the night before, I create my schedule for the next day. And it's a visual. So I'm here on my computer and I'm typing away and stuff like that. I can look down and I know that I've got to do this for this. So it's called time blocking. Okay. If you're a great time blocker, you're going to be more productive, because every entrepreneur in the beginning, that you have a lot of money, which most people don't, failure rate, is you have to be very productive with your time blocking and very disciplined with your time blocking. Okay. If you're supposed to be marketing on whatever marketing source you're doing, or maybe several, you haven't delegated it out yet, hint, right. Then you have to, and I don't have it with me, on my desk is a kitchen alarm. So I will set the alarm for a half hour, 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. And when that goes off, that means time's up. Okay. Go do your next project. Gotcha. So it helps keep me on track, is that time blocking. So that's part of the answer. Okay. I love it. And you are just full of wisdom. And it just never stops. Every question, we go down. I'm sure that we could be talking for hours and hours just in book reviews, just listening to your book reviews alone. Because the books that you mentioned, I love Wayne Dyer. I love Brendon Burchard. I love all those people. And in fact, I'll say this, and we only got just a couple of minutes. I remember reading Brian Tracy way back in the early 90s. And he said that if you read an hour a day, that's a book a week, that's 50 books a year. And if you did it on one particular topic for 3 years, you'll be an expert, because the average person only reads one book a year. And if you're reading 50, you're going to be way ahead of the game. So if you're reading 73,
dude, you're way ahead even that. So I love it. I love it. So thank you so much, my friend, for hanging out with me. Let's do it again. I'm gonna do everything I can to try to get people to your summit. Real quick, tell me how again can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you?
My general email that I use is just my name, Chasen, which is spelled Chasen. My
Okay.
last name is Chess, the easy one, like the game of chess. ChasenChess@gmail.com.
Okay.
Easier and a piece of cake. And two more books I'm going to share
Yes.
with you before we cut off and go
All right.
into the real world.
Okay.
I'm reading this for the umpteenth time.
I love that.
And
Yes.
this is a classic book that if you haven't read this
Yes.
more than once,
Absolutely.
I usually read this about once a year. And every time I read with a magic marker, a highlighter.
Okay.
And so I go through it every year is I have multiple colors. So every
I
year is a
love
different
it.
color because I learn something new every year.
Yeah.
The last one of them, one I'm reading right now,
Okay.
it's once again, I'm here to provide as much value for your
Totally.
listeners and
Yes.
your tribe as much as possible. And this, I love customer service and studying customer service. It's not hard, but so few American corporations are really good at it.
Yeah.
So one of the ones I'm reading 3 right now. One is called the Nordstrom Way.
Oh,
That's
I love
customer
it.
service for Nordstrom.
Yeah.
Another one is called Be Our Guest. That's the customer service book for Disney. The one I'm
Okay.
reading right now, because if you've never stayed there, you should sometime to go splurge, is the Ritz-Carlton has their book called, what is it called? The New Gold Standard. It's all about the customer service that the Ritz-Carlton provides its guests. There's no better hotel chain in the world for high-end thing. They are there. When I say we're all here to serve, they've taken that to their corporation, and they have an intense training program for every employee to go through. So that's a great book to read if you want to, because if you don't have great customer service,
you have nothing.
You're out of business.
You're out of business. So we got just a couple quick minutes, and I want to end by saying this. I love the fact that none of the books you mentioned were real estate books.
No.
Okay. And that's a key, because I think the main key is that real estate investors, in terms of their marketing, you'll get the best ideas by implementing successful improvement ideas from outside of your industry into your business. And I love that, because you can always learn how to, what paperwork you need to, do lease option versus subject to, and all that is great. But again, without the stuff that you're talking about, you're out of business, period. You're done. So
mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
As I'm talking to Brendan, personal development and business and marketing, my two loves.
Mine too. I love it. So let's do this.
I'm going to end up, because I know we have to wrap things up.
Yes.
This is my final promotion.
Let's do it.
It's happening in a few days, October 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Yes.
Is my summit. I've interviewed some amazingly smart people from various aspects, mainly focused on marketing. It's called REI Marketing Success. Go to reimarketingsuccess.com. It's free. It's virtual. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
And I've just picked the brains of the kind of people I hang out with, like you, Rufus, people who have big brains and big hearts.
I love
That's the kind of people that I hang out with.
Yeah.
And there's too many trolls out there. I fire them. So go to REI Marketing Success. Once again, register now, because it happens the 18th, 19th, and 20th, just in a few days.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a plethora of information about real estate investing, mainly focused on marketing, so you can fill your pipeline and make a shitload of money.
I love it. Well, I'm going to be there. Everybody listening, I encourage you to be there. I'm going to do everything. I'm promoted everywhere I can think of. And
thank you.
No problem. Thanks again for your time, sir. And we'll see each other real again soon here. Okay.
All right, bud.
All right, Jason. Take care.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Here to serve.
Thank you.